getting into the candles, right? Getting into the candles. Obviously, candles have an open, high, low, close, whether they're bullish or bearish. And then you've got strong candles and weak candles. Your strong candles will tend to have larger bodies because of the larger price movements. You'll find them strong candles at like market opens, during high impact news. Sometimes at the start of a higher time frame candle, you'll see, big pushes. And then you've got your weak candles, which will have long wicks, small bodies, or small bodies, small wicks. Usually at the end of a session, when the volume is dying down, or you can see them before a big move. So when price is consolidating, candles will be a bit weaker. They'll go sideways before the big push. Now you've got wicks that come on either side of the body, which will come in all different sizes. You've got long wicks that show that prices move strongly in one direction and then reversed, maybe pulling back from a key level or rejecting an area. And wicks are usually, very often filled and broken. So if price is trending bullish, there's a high probability that the wicks will get filled in that direction. If a wick is broken, so you've got bullish candle and you break the high, then price will usually continue bullish. When higher time frame wicks are broken, it's more significant because it's usually part of the bigger trend. And then since 90% of candles have a top or bottom wick, there's a high probability that if a candle opens and doesn't create a wick, then it will come back to the open and create a wick eventually. So this is good for the 30-minute time frame and higher. Now, if the 30-minute candle doesn't create a wick before it closes, there's a higher probability that the next 30-minute candle will pull back and create that wick. And then wickless candles usually occur during news releases, like during high volume. But generally, if the wick is not created straight away, price tends to come back to that area on the same day. That's usually what I've noticed. We're going to get that wick, right? So today's daily candle doesn't have a bottom wick, or it has barely a bottom wick. And this is a daily and a weekly candle without a wick. And I mean, look back. How many of these daily or weekly candles do you see that don't have a wick on either side? Now, this is barely a little bottom wick, but not a wick like this, a wickless candle. So what that's telling me is that at some point, potentially during this week, we're going to come back. We're going to come back down to this area and create a wick for this daily candle. So I'm looking for at least a retest of 43, 30, where did it open? 38, 37 down here at some point. So that's something I've noted at the beginning of this week, unless we come back and create that wick today. All right, so if we look at the weekly time frame, in fact, let's go back and let's go back to last week. Right, yeah, we'll go to last week's weekly candle. So what does this weekly candle tell you? It's a strong candle. The body is longer than the wicks. The candle's trending bullish. It broke the previous highs, respected the previous lows, and it closed above this weekly resistance here. So we can anticipate that the next weekly candle will continue bullish if this high is broken. Also, price can fill these wicks to the left, and they would be broken if price was going to make a new high. So there was also a high probability of that. So looking at the daily candles, we have a bullish bias based on the weekly. So we're anticipating breaking the weekly high at least, which was, it wasn't far away from where the week closed. So how long is this top wick? Like 500 pips, which is usually a daily candle. So on the daily, we can continue the bullish trend by creating a support and resistance. So I use old levels for targets, daily resistance for a buy target. So my buy target majority of the week was either 43.66 or 4400, anticipating that we break that high. I use daily supports for sell targets, but it would have been breaking the weekly low. So really what I was looking for is this week, well, last week, to create a higher low and a support higher than 41.90. I didn't really anticipate it coming all the way back. So maybe as far back as retesting this previous resistance. Also, we had a very, very heavy news week, like super heavy news week last week. So depending on where price was on the day of the news, I was looking for the daily candle to play into my buyer's bias after the news. Let's skip somebody. Let's go to, yeah, let's go look at the, no, in fact, I'm put the daily here. Let's go to the 4 hour here. All right, so this is Monday. Well, Monday's just not opened yet. All right, so this is how the week actually played out. If you look at Tuesday, this was actually the day that had the most news. I think it was NFP, retail sales. We had a ton of news. And the daily candle closed weak bearish with a doji, so indecision. But it still respected the previous weekly lows. So the buyer's bias was still very valid. So on the 4 hour time frame, I find my key levels, because this is important when you're looking for trades. I want to see how price reacts. I want to see how price reacts to these levels. You know, we had a strong resistance at these highs, but the structure was still creating higher lows. As you can see, look, we've got higher low, higher low, higher low. So as the week is going on, I'm moving my 4 hour support higher and higher. In fact, let me put those in. Wait, where are we? What day is that? Thursday. Yeah, look, we're respecting all of these supports here. So this is coming to today. So I'm not going to talk about uptrends and downtrends because we know what they look like. Only using structure to identify if price is still trending along with the higher time frames. So on the 4 hour, I have my levels, and then I drop down to the 30-minute levels, the 30-minute time frame, to find entries and obviously confirm the bias. So let's go 30-minute over here. So what do you see happening at these levels once you drop down to the 30-minute? So you get a clearer picture of where price is going, or you start looking for how price reacts to these higher time frame levels in order to continue bullish. So at this first levels, we saw the 30-minute start to range and then finally break out and push up. We came back to this 4 hour level like 3 times, but every time we've come here, look at the 30-minute. What's the 30-minute time frame telling us? I think this was after news. Yes, we had a push up, we come back, retest the 4 hour, and then push back off. We got a rejection candle on a 30-minute here, consolidation at the beginning of the week, and then here on Friday, we dropped back, created a double bottom, and then pushed off. So once you identify your higher time frame levels, especially on the 4 hour, that's what you're using to get into your earlier entries. You're looking for those levels to hold. So what's the 30-minute time frame telling me? I want to see reversal patterns like an engulfing. I want to see double tops, double bottoms. I want to see the candles trending in my direction, breaking highs, respecting lows. Also, what does the Asian range look like? And how is the 30-minute reacting to Asian highs and lows? You know, are there long wicks off the higher time frame key level? Are the candles getting smaller? Is price ranging? So everything you've seen happening here. We've got smaller candles, we're pushing up. You've got the consolidation, you've got the rejections, you've got the double bottoms. And that's how you look at higher time frame candles to lower time frame candles, and then anticipate how it's going to react to your bias, or if it fits in line with your bias. Then we can start looking for, you know, some good entries. But we'll get into the back testing, and we'll get into the strategies and back testing on another day. But I just wanted to go over candles using the higher time frame. So if we're looking at today, starting with this week, we still have that bullish bias, right? We still have a bullish bias. The weekly candle, although we don't have that bottom wick, if it does come down and create this bottom wick, you're right, Faith. If we do come back and make this bottom wick, as long as we respect last week's low, we're still very bullish on gold. Obviously, we've already broken the high, so the candles are still already trending bullish. So on the daily time frame, what I want to see again is the daily still creating higher lows, creating a higher support, and pushing up. We are going to have some pullback, so even if I get a resistance and then a support, that's great. But I want to see price creating this uptrend structure. And if you look at last week, we did break the low on Monday, but again, we respected that weekly low, so the buys were still valid. And we weren't breaking lows for the rest of the week. My only concern for the sells is coming back to create this bottom wick for this weekly and daily candle today.